Welcome, my friends. This is Maniacal Incorporated. In the last episode, we created the Kingdom of Ireland. We have begun the process of spreading Insular Christianity. However, we have created a number of internal and external enemies. And Cornal has reached his early 60s. He's just reached 61 years of age. He is infirm and he is melancholic. And he's baiting himself with a whip. So things aren't looking good for his health. And on his death, he will see the kingdom, or at least Meath, split between his two sons. Ardgoyle will become the ruler of Connacht, or he'll become the Duke or the High Chief of Connacht, which could be problematic, especially if he's going to split off part of Meath. So what I'm going to do is a number of different things. We have a number of different things to do. One of the first is insularism. Here is the Pope, Nicholas. And we're going to begin a scheme to learn his language. The Irish had the longest continuous tradition of Latin and Greek scholarship in Europe, I think from around this time period, from around the mid to late 400s until the late 1700s. So we might as well try and get that going. We're going to learn the language of the Pope. So we were trying to sway our nephew in Ulster, and at the moment we have, basically because of our religious differences, everyone tends to hate us. So we're going to try and do something a bit more productive. Another thing that we're going to do is, I should have probably switched to this earlier, but it is handy to have the night effectiveness. I'm going to see if I can switch to medicine focus. It might be a bit of a waste at this point in time. We're going to switch to medicine focus and try and get as much of this done as possible. It would be fantastic if we could keep Cornal alive long enough to see the death of Alil, oh lord, his least loyal vassal. But his health is fine, whereas I believe Cornal's is poor at the moment. And this is a tremendous pity because I would love to have gone. We received an invitation from King Clovis to the abhorrent King Cornal Crihan. Yeah, we're not the greatest of kings at the moment. It'd be 4 months travel. It would be pricey. We are in ill health, and unfortunately we need the money. Not alone do we need the money, but we need to actually get even more money together. And so what I'll do is click on the wrong thing, and we will raise all as Rathers and head back towards Scotland and the north of England. And you know what? It would have been a good idea to have checked, first of all, of potential raid targets. Most of the region has been raided down. There's a handful of places with very little money. Are we going to head up into Scotland? I'd say so, because the north of England has been decimated. All along the coast where we would have been going has been wiped out, unless it's still in that way after our last raid. But it looks like we are going to have to head for Scotland and head northwards. Our new Archbishop, Scandal, comes to us. Of course, our last Archbishop became a monk when we went on a pilgrimage. And one of our courtiers has taken to scaling a pillar in the courtyard and remaining there all day in quiet contemplation. So we could say that this is inspiring. And we would gain practicing asceticism. Theocratic ruler of the same faith, plus 15, that would be brilliant for improving our relations with the Pope, who doesn't really like us at the moment. We would get some extra piety and a health penalty, so unfortunately we can't go for that. Looks like we are going to have to ignore her. She's going to become reclusive. We're going to spend piety. I think the other option is to banish her. I don't think we need to banish her. So we're going to lose some relations with our Archbishop as a result of our ill health. We've managed to take a prisoner on the Outer Hebrides. We'll get 12 gold, and you know what? We should take it. But what I might start doing at some stage is basically just releasing people who agree to convert to Insular Christianity. But for now, we badly, badly need the money. Oh, we've gotten a couple of pop-ups. We've gotten a couple of pop-ups. Fergus, our nephew. Is this the entire family gone? So our caravan master has been killed, I believe, in a siege from Line. The absolute devils. Somebody has arrived at our court. It's bad timing. There's a raid going on. Somebody has arrived at our court with Bedouin objects. 75 quid for flexible scale armor. 75 quid for flexible scale armor. If you'd arrived a couple of months earlier when we were focusing on the martial focus, I think at this stage Cornal is preparing for death. I think at this stage Cornal is begging for death. He has begun to learn Latin. He is devoting himself to religious matters. I think he's overly worried about his health, so I don't think getting flexible scale armor is his number one intention at the moment. Those absolute devils in Leinster. And to make things worse, they actually managed to take his son, Senta, prisoner. So there is 20 gold of a ransom. I'm going to pay that ransom. I find myself fascinated by the human body and all the secrets that it still keeps from us. Questions of life, but mainly death, are constantly on my mind. To read texts on the topic is all well and good. That's why he's teaching himself Latin. To read all the fancy texts that they have out there. Probably isn't a great amount of Irish medical work at the moment. But I cannot help but feel like I would learn a lot more from hands-on research. So, study the ravages of disease on a corpse, or piety. Let's go digging up some bodies. And I got a couple of pop-ups about this already. I had a feeling somebody was trying to get close to us. Wherever I go, my niece-in-law, Romaine, is sure to follow. That look in her eyes, the words on her lips, I know exactly what she's after. My Latin textbooks? So I organised this marriage to try and keep some branch of the family going. So go keep that branch of the family going. How sweet, but no. I try to hold my breath as I sift through the mangled mess of slimy, swollen entrails sprouting from the corpse's belly. But it is to no avail. The putrid stench of decay slowly finds its way to my lungs, making me gag. Something then tears open, and a stream of viscous, yellowish ichor, I always said ichor, but I believe it's ichor, spills all over the operating table. What was that? Alien? Maybe Lennon could help. 72% chance. We just need more bodies, but we would gain stress. And we would definitely get 50 learning lifestyle experience, but I believe we'd bring this whole thing to an end. Lennon. Surely Lennon will help me. He's delighted to help. Fantastic. I only wish there was some way to stave off the smell. So 64% chance that we would gain 1 learning lifestyle perk, or 36% chance that we get 100 learning lifestyle experience and we would become ill. Or a guaranteed 100. I want to spin for that learning lifestyle perk. And no, we got ourselves sick instead. And we have the little skull pop up at the top, which means that we are close, we are dying. So the time has come to treat your cold. Is it the cold that we got from messing around inside a dead body? While I am fairly certain a simple tincture will suffice, the choice is yours, my lord. Do no more than is necessary. If it's a cold, well, it would get us stressed because we're content. We're happy to be dying. Do no more than is necessary. And we feel a bit brighter. That cold that we picked up when something exploded inside a dead body is gone. Thanks, Lennon. Do you know what? That alliance fell apart, so... Do you know what? Keep her. You're welcome to her. Do you know what? I'll go and get her back from you myself. Do you know what? I don't need a wife. We can just take prisoners here in Scotland. This is a courtier who we can't ransom back, so we will negotiate her release, which is to recruit and demand conversion. And now that she's accepted, we'll marry her. So, basically, Cornal has fallen in love with a random prisoner that he picked up. Possibly he's trying to keep himself young. He's trying to keep himself young because, oh, that's not looking good. And we're being told that we have lost the ill trait. Well, there you go. She's making improvements to the kingdom already. Our health is still poor, however. And after all our hard work, I thought we were going to be in a spot of bother, but we could entirely actually win this. That is a bit of a surprise. We were trying to retreat northwards when we were caught. And I think that is maybe our stay in Scotland. Over. I have come across a book describing how ancient monastics, like from 20 years ago, used trances and visions of ecstasy to commune with heaven. It seems a strange practice in our modern age, but perhaps there is something to be learned from them. Yes, absolutely. We could learn more about the practice through books, or you test the mystical practices. What do other texts say? Oh, these devils are coming back in against us again. Just as we gain some learning and a lifestyle perk. We'll see this battle through. But again, we are losing a lot of forces. Which is not what we want. Do we want to try and raid down this area? You know what, for 3 gold, I'd say we'd better try to get back home, and we really aren't in a position to lose any more forces. Because it's going to make us a lot weaker than Connacht. And I also want to keep the forces together to try and hit those devils in Leinster. Damn them to hell. So from reading a fancy book, we can pick up anatomical studies. We have a court physician, so the ability to hire them for cheaper doesn't mean much, but their treatments have better outcomes. Here is our grandson, Diarmid, who is at the moment going down the learning education route, and do you know what? We might as well keep him going down that route. Here's Lennon, but Lennon has questionable, well, he is just, but he has questionable traits. And here is Scandal, who has some questionable traits. Shy wouldn't be brilliant. Here is Lued, who is humble, brave, and just. So his learning isn't fantastic, but you know what? He's pretty much in terms of traits, he's the best of a bad lot. So I'm being told that the title of Champion of the Serpent needs a successor. And we can actually click on the title to manage it. So here is Fergus, Huntsmaster, Disciplinarian. You and your primary heir may gain the Hunter trait every few years. We could retire the accolade. We could show the accolade history. There isn't much to show at the moment. And we can appoint a successor. The successor must be a knight. They cannot be greater than a baron. prowess must be 8 or above. They must be a hunter. And the culture does not have the vegetarians tradition. So the only person we could appoint at the moment is our nephew and steward, but he is, I think, about 14 or 15 is the highest prowess skill at the moment. So we will try and see if we can find a... this accolade already has potential successors, so we basically have to appoint this guy. So here is Dungol at 15. And what I will do at the moment is forbid and basically force our nephew into that position. Can I allow him? I can, no. I can allow Dungol, but he won't go into that position unless somebody drops out. And what we can now do is appoint our nephew as the successor, because I imagine when Fergus becomes the king, that he will lose the title of Champion of the Serpent, and that will go to Doi. We were 1 gold short. 68 gold we came back home with, but we did get 80 gold shortly afterwards. I'm going to stand down the army, let them replenish, and see what way things look now. There was an attack into Thomond at one stage. Alil doesn't hate me as much as he used to, but he still hates me. Considering that we are facing the division of Mead, and it being basically reduced to 1 county, I would like to try and get more forces together for our son. The problem is that everything will take a very long time to construct. The gathering hall will take 7 years, and we'll say the war camps would take 7 years, 4 years for the palisades. I would like a trading post. We're not going to be in a position to build anything additional here. Levies 150 from the war camps, and we would get an additional knight. Do you know what? We'll go with the war camps. And something that I didn't actually see, because we have elevated ourselves to a kingdom, we are now in a position to add another man-at-arms regiment. I don't like them, but the siege towers are handy for sieging down areas on raids. War dogs. Haven't seen these before. So they would counter skirmishers. So they would basically counter light footmen. I was going to throw in bowmen. I think that's what we'll go with. Now, our prestige is going into the negative as a result of the fact that we have, if it'll actually come up for me, unraised men-at-arms with the men-at-arms that we've just started recruiting. And as the High King is increasing in age, we're going to hold a court, because it could be his first and his last. We will hear petitioners. So we will gesture for the first in line to approach. The man who approaches my throne is clearly a commoner. My lord, he begins his speech, I represent the local community of Tara. In the last few months, our cemeteries have been plagued with the disappearance of bodies. What? At first we feared wild animals or obscure powers at work. Who could be doing such a thing? Our court physician, Lennon. What? I don't believe this. Why would he do such a thing? So every non-callous courtier and guest would lose 10 opinion, effectively. Lennon would get 50 intrigue and learning lifestyle experience, and a potential chance he might become a novice physician. Popular opinion would go down. Arrest the grave robber, or Lennon, just cut it off. Safe cemeteries. Public opinion would go up. Studying the human body is a sad necessity. Oh, my marshal, Alil, shrugs before stepping forward to voice his petition. I seek your aid in combating the issue of bandits harassing the modest people of Ulster. You're the bandits harassing the modest people of Ulster. So we give him some gold. and his opinion would increase. The steward can offer you advice. So he would gain 10. He would be receiving advice, and for 2 years, the potential successor to the position of Champion of the Serpent would receive a severe health penalty. Or my courtier, Blaw, would make a better steward. I'm not too sure why that would happen. Cornal would be fired from the council. What? So we would end up appointing Blaw as his steward. Oh, I see. Okay. So how has Cornal ended up there? Was Cornal our archbishop at one stage? I'm very confused. Cornal, you divil! You told me you were going off to become a monk and spending all your time in a monastery. You divil! Well, do you know what? He can have Blaw of the Dalgash. My guest, Verena, approaches my throne with a smirk on her face and bows deeply. Greetings, your majesty. During my recent trip to Line, you learned some fascinating tidbits about several of High Chieftain Crihan's subjects. And you'd be glad to share them for a price. 50 quid to Verena Justinian. So she showed up. In the last episode, it popped up that she was in the court. She is the daughter of Dalmaticus Justinian. She has claims on a few places, and now she's in Ireland. Well, there you go. So 50 quid, and there's a chance that she'll tell us a secret, and there's a chance that she doesn't actually know any. Active tyranny, or we could get court grandeur. Do you know what? Yeah, if you're going off to Leinster, I'll get those secrets by force. Don't you worry. Go away, you. And so that was the first court of the High King Conal Crihan. It is no secret that I'm working hard on learning the Latin language, and it seems that it's becoming common knowledge among the Roman peasantry. They are referring to me as the king that cares. A flattering thing indeed. Even the lower nobles are lauding my efforts. I feel like my efforts have brought Gaels and Romans closer together. So perhaps I should hold a speech in both Latin and Goidelic. Stress would go up 99% chance if we spend 150 prestige and fail. 0% chance at success. Make them forget me. I can't afford distraction, so we would gain progress in learning. Or cultural acceptance between Gaels and Romans increases by 1. Do you know what? We'll just keep studying. I'm sorry, Crihan. I'm sorry, what? You have my what? My wife? I don't think so. My wife is here beside me. 100 gold for some random woman. I have no idea what you're talking about. No, it's... No, you're fine. You keep her. Oh, this might have been a terrible mistake. We may have actually messed things up more than expected. So, potentially another baby is going to be thrown into the mix to divide the titles even further. So just looking here at Tara, we have the default Confederate partition. I think it would be quite tough to get Tanistry put in place. And of course it doesn't really make much of a difference because Tanistry in the game isn't entirely accurate to how Tanistry actually operated. The big difference would be that minors were excluded from the succession. So we will see, if we were to die right now, our 10-year-old son ruling. I think he's going to get effectively Athlone. And if we have another son, they might instead get Athlone, and Ardgol might get something else. But you wouldn't have had that actually happen. Historically, minors could not inherit under any circumstances. So basically everything would go to Fergus. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Some coveted Literature, my lord. My archbishop approaches me with urgency. So, local merchants have a copy of something, but they refuse to sell it to him. 50 quid. We'd gain a week hook on him and 25 learning lifestyle experience. We could spend 50 and get 50 learning lifestyle experience and increase our learning by 1. But he would lose 15 opinion with us. Scandal. I want the book. So really the ones that we want here would be healthy and whole of body. We're not getting that far. When death of natural causes is a year away, you will receive a warning. That would be helpful, but we would have to go through embrace celibacy first of all, which would basically increase our piety. I think we'll just wash our hands. Now, we could, if we wanted to, declare war on Leinster to force them to join us. Won't accept vassalization. Their forces are a bit weaker than ours at the moment. I don't actually know if they have any place that we can raid. They have a couple of places. And it would be great to actually hit the capital itself, because we haven't managed to do that yet at any point in time. We have a significant force arrayed here. We will wander in and get our revenge on Leinster. So they have mobilized their forces. They are sending them north to fight us. And Connacht is down to about 1,100 forces. So there's a problem. So successor to Athlone and Birr. Do you know what? I think he may have actually fixed a couple of things, because I think now he'll become a vassal of his eldest brother. And entirely possibly the son that's going to become the ruler of Connacht, Ardgoyle, might end up taking land from Allel. I'm not too sure what way that's going to go. Cornal, best of luck to you. Lads, I don't think my health is strong enough. My constitution isn't strong enough in my old age to be hearing about saucy readings. My legs are in such bad condition that my cloak has gone through them. That is how weak my legs are at the moment. I can barely stay standing, and you're bringing me saucy readings. There'll be no juicy. I can tell you that for nothing. We're not getting no confident lover. Make it disappear, and I will pretend I saw and heard nothing. Poor old Scandal, he's telling me all the... Don't be telling me the things that you read in that book. Don't be telling me. Now, our army has just lost a commander. So here is Philippos, who we could recruit to court. Hellenic. Herculean. He wants 20 quid. Absolutely. And yeah, sure, there you go. You get to command the army. Now, what happened? Oh, he wasn't actually commander, was he? So I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what happened to our previous commander. Where's our son? There's Fergus in the army, having a great old time. I'm wondering, is he getting rankings or anything towards... Oh, there you go. Something's happening. Leinster has wandered in again. They actually have Crihin himself commanding. That's the second major defeat that they have suffered. And for the first time ever, we will take the battle to Leinster itself. They're coming out to meet us. It hovered there without moving for a few moments. You should not, at your age, get off that horse. God damn it, man, get off that horse. Like every noble, it is expected of me that I be able to ride a horse, both often and well. I could hardly administer Ireland if I didn't, after all. Without warning, my steed bucks. You should not be getting up on that thing. Spooked by some small animal on the trail. Those ants that Kilna told us about ages ago. I'm almost thrown hard, only wresting control back at the last moment. That could have been nasty. Just as he gets revenge on Leinster, he almost got himself killed. We're... Damn that horse. You have died. King Cornal of Ireland has crossed the door, has been bucked across the door by a horse to the world of spirits at 64 years of age. An old man, he lived a long and fulfilling life. King Fergus ascends to the throne, being a man willing to wait for a plan to come together. Many expect great change to come to the realm, albeit slowly. It is the 31st of October, 493, and the two great adherents of Insular Christianity are dead, St. Patrick and King Cornal. So here's the High Chieftain of Connacht. And here is here's our vassal. So that could be useful. Why are you telling me about Britain? I don't care about Britain. That's way out foreign. Unless there's money to be taken from there. So there you go. Attended one activity. Hosted 3 activities, 2 pilgrimages and a hunt. Fought 3 wars. Was on the lifestyle learning, devoted servant. A level of fame, distinguished, was the cultural head of the Gaels at the time of his death. And was thrown off a horse. We'll say he was thrown off a horse. His heart was pounding so much after grabbing the reins that he died. He probably just died on the horse. Continue as King Fergus. Go away, I don't care. Go away. Actually, where is it? In the west, the remaining Celts of Hibernia eye our lands with devious intent. Devious Celts. Very good. So, wait, no, the Celts to the west of us eye our land with devious intent. What? So this is clearly written from a kind of a, you're supposed to basically play in England for the struggle for Britannia. Take hold of faith. Yeah, sure. So the first and most important thing, the new king, Fergus, has indeed lost the title of Champion of the Serpent. So that has gone to Louis, who is Huntsmaster and Reeve. So he has different traits. And he's not great. He's not a great holder of this title. Can we see the accolade history? So it doesn't actually have kind of the previous... I don't think it has the first person to hold the title. Here is the man himself. Diplomat, and he was serving actually as diplomat under his father. And didn't seem to do a great job for a good chunk of that time. The first thing I'm going to do is... Well, first of all, look who it is. High Chieftain Ardgol. And he has indeed taken Mayo. So he has seized Mayo from Allel. We are still in the position where I would like to take these 2 places off of him and create Ulster. We could feasibly create Ulster, get Alloch into it, which has now become Alloch, which is fantastic, and then grant it to Ardgol. Unless he's actually became... No, he hasn't become the ruler of Ulster as well. I thought maybe that title would have been created, seeming that he holds the majority of it. And of course, our younger brother, Cunla, has Athlone, so he remains under our control. And this is fantastic because we have, we actually have very few soldiers at the moment. We have 2,000. We can get up to 2,000, and what's his name isn't exactly the strongest. So this has pretty much broken Alil's back to a degree, unless he rebels against our brother. I would have rathered to have kept the Connacht in power in Connacht, but that's just the way it goes. It was actually Alil pushing up in this direction rapidly that caused all of those major problems. Diplomacy lifestyle. We'll go down the diplomacy lifestyle. The family hierarch. Each of your friend relations gives you 2 random skill points. So he's going down patriarch. I think we'll go for what will give us the most prestige, because prestige, of course, is used to maintain an army. So our father, Cornal Crihin, was suffering from a prestige deficit at times, trying to maintain a newly expanded army. Our bishop, Scandal, does not endorse us. He does endorse us. It was telling us he didn't there for a moment. We can appoint a chancellor. So here is our one and only vassal. Oh no, we have 2 vassals, but here is the guy in Ennis. He's not happy. Wants a seat in the council. Are you old enough to sit in the council? So intrigue would be his best. I'm not putting him in intrigue. We could have him as a crappy marshal for a while. We'll see what we actually have in better positions. So as a chancellor, do you know what? An 11 isn't fantastic, so sure, you can be my chancellor for a while. And in terms of a marshal then, Philippos, who we hired not all that long ago. And there is our new council. With our pregnant wife, whose brother has like 200 troops, so I don't know if I could be bothered reforming that alliance. And we can't form any alliances through secondary wives at the moment. Now, it's entirely possible that, what's his name? Alil will try and take over this region, so we will negotiate an alliance with our half-brother and vassal. I was wondering why his archbishop or his bishop was showing up here. Of course, this is the regent. Regencies would have been impossible at this time in Ireland because, like I was saying, minors would not have been allowed to inherit under any circumstances, so regencies were not a thing that ever had to be dealt with until the arrival of the Normans, but here is a regency under Bishop Shea of Connacht. Now, we do have a bit of an issue, which is that Leinster's forces are, of course, recovering here, and we need to basically get up past them with what is left of our raiding forces and try and get into Tara once we have completed the raid here in Leinster. We're increasing control in Athlone and trying to convert Athlone. Control is fairly low in a number of places after Leinster's last massive raid. Here is our cousin, I suppose. Yeah, he is indeed. Minus 69, nice. Here is Ennis. We have a lot of people that don't like us. We have a lot of people that we should start swaying as our first objective. So what are we going to do? We're going to learn Latin. And we are again being told that the champion of the serpent needs a successor, and because there are no adequate successors in the kingdom, we can actually go and seek a worthy successor. It will cost 125 prestige. Do you know what? We do have a chunk of prestige. We have a chunk of prestige. Seek a worthy accolade successor. It'll be a bit of a risky task, but we've managed to raise 66 forces, and I'm going to try and march them down to Leinster. Our half-brother has accepted an alliance. And we could actually park them. Will they stay right there? And bring you up and join them together. I don't know if I can actually join raiding forces. We can't. And not outside our territory. So we could try to hit. We could try to hit Leinster, or we could head for Ennis. So they are trying to cut us off. I'm not too sure the king is confident in his first battle, and he is more of a diplomat. They are coming around for us, and I think we might have a battle anyway, whether we want one or not. And I'd say we were in luck to get those 66 forces down. We have managed to kill one of their commanders. Our wife has given us a daughter, Dunla. May you grow to be strong and wise, my daughter. So poor owl, Crihin, Mock Anya, he's getting a beating from our forces, and our glory is widely known with our first victory that we were confident of all along. We were always confident that we would win that. Yeah, absolutely. And all that for a couple of bob. So just as that combat was coming to an end against Leinster, the only power on the island that was able to, and that did, challenge our father, and it was his last great achievement in life, was to march on Loch Gorman down into the south of Leinster and take revenge for their last raid into Meath. Just as that was coming to an end, Marcellus showed up in court. Fantastic prowess, fantastic martial skills, fantastic grasp of Latin and Goidelic. So for half of what we just took in that combat, I am going to recruit him to court. He has joined the army, so he's gotten himself a fancy uniform, and because we have a court tutor, I can take the... I should go the long way around. The have child study language option. And I can select anybody that I want. And we can have Marcellus teach our son Diarmid Latin. What a career this poor woman had. Captured in Scotland in a raid. Forced to convert to Insular Christianity, married to a paranoid, hypochondriac High King, and then she had a son, who she is now serving as regent for. She's going to be there for 16 years as regent of Athlone, so fair play to her. What a career. What a career she's had. And I didn't actually notice this at the time. High Chieftain Crihin Mock Anya, our father's great nemesis, died from his wounds at a nice old age, as far as CK3 is concerned. So he died in that last combat, or as a result of that last combat, and his son, Owen, is maimed. So his health is poor. I'm not entirely too sure. That's actually his grandson. So of course, yes, that's right. His father, Na'i, was killed in one of... Did we raid Leinster or did they raid us? I don't know. I don't know what's going on at this stage. So I'm not too sure who is actually next in line for succession. If anything goes wrong, there's a couple of more of the Hinchelig wandering around the place. The first thing to note is that we have distinguished our rule as High King by moving the vertebrae of Saint Kieran from one side of the throne to the other. So we've moved it to stamp our authority, to mark our High Kingship as something new and different. One of our knights is telling my wife that she's scrumptious. So we could send him to the dungeon. We could tell the wife to get away from him, you Jezebel. Or a courtly love. We would gain 14 grandeur, 75 prestige, which we're mad for. And A would gain 20 opinion with us. I think as a diplomatic figure, so our father was he was a schemer and a military figure. I'm not too sure if Fergus is going to go down the military route, which I usually do, but he would maybe be looking to invest more money, build up an army, and have the army work for him. Maybe he never enjoyed being the champion of the serpent. It was something his father expected of him. Maybe he saw the final years of his father's life racked by stress and worry over his health and over military affairs. So maybe he's going to go down a more diplomatic, maybe even a more book learning route, like his father in later years, and he thinks this is great. Whether there's something going on now between the wife and this lad, that's another thing. We did just have a daughter, didn't we? We might want to check that out. Here is our spy master, Fianku. You know what? We'll get him looking for secrets in Tara. Now, 494 is maybe a bit early to be worrying about this, but you know what? We will start trying to turn Tara into a center of learning. Actually, probably a better idea to do that with Armagh, but we'll do it here in Tara, in the capital. So I'm going to try and start getting the dev growth up here. At the moment, it's 2, so we're not exactly the center of the world. And we have a couple of different things which have happened there. Diarmid MacFergusa, a good name, has shown up. He's 22 and could serve as a successor for the serpent. So our cousin is 39. It's a pity that Dungol maybe doesn't have any better traits, could potentially serve in that position. So what we would need to do, obviously, is appoint Diarmid to the army. Well, let's see. Well, the first thing we have to do is recruit him. Here's another very good figure. 22 prowess. So we're ending up putting a lot of people into the army that aren't great. So we can force him into the army, which throws out Marcellus, which I'm not delighted with. And we have Doi in there as well. And actually, if I was to allow him, it would drop A out. Let's see how much he is to recruit. Recruit to court, 25. Sure, go on. There you go, his Irish uniform on him. And we'll try and get a good army together. And there we go. We'll appoint Diarmid as the successor for the position Champion of the Serpent. And if we could maybe get somebody within the family upgraded to that title, I might appoint them instead, because I'm sure you can just change it at will. And we might try and take Dungol on a hunt maybe at some stage. He's actually much better prowess than his father. So if his father gets killed in battle, he can take over from him. I might have to do some restructuring of the army at some stage, some restructuring of the knights just to make sure that the best of the best are in there, except for a handful of people who have to be there, so that they can be the heads of various different accolades. All of Meath has now become insular, so Athlone has just been converted, and I will take the Archbishop. And which one is convert faith again? And we will send him to Mayo, where our half-brother now rules as the chief of Connacht. So that will help to speed up that area. Armagh still isn't under Insular Christianity, as that is ruled by Allel. Now we could try to force Allel's hand and get him to convert. I'm not too sure. It might be easier, actually, with some of his children. Demand his conversion. Well, I won't say there's not a great chance that he'd accept, but he'd probably start demanding something. So we might see. if we can basically just improve his standing with us a bit, or maybe even wait until his children are in a weaker position and demand their conversion, or wait until our army replenishes and then start demanding conversions. We have the ability to implement Tanistry Successive as a special succession type, so I could do this. I might do this either... We'll see how many children Fergus ends up having, how many sons he ends up having. But now that the family is beginning to have a Connacht branch and potentially an Ulster branch, we might start looking at doing this further down the line. And we can also actually start importing items. I'm going to take a look at that in the next episode, as well as visiting a holy well. But most likely, the first thing that I'm going to do at the start of the next episode will be to undertake a grand tour of our domain. The first grand tour ever to be undertaken by a king. You can see the expense. We're going to have to get a chunk of money together. It mightn't actually be that expensive, but it's entirely possible we'll have to get a chunk of money together before we go and do that. But that is going to be Fergus's first goal, or his first major goal, now that he has succeeded to the holy office of High King of Ireland. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I had good fun with this one. It's a pity that we have seen the end of Cornal's reign, but we can pray that Fergus's reign will be just as blessed, and I hope that you will join me on the next episode with some good walking shoes, because we've a sizable enough kingdom to tour.